get started in our conversations on CARICOM with Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comishon, who joins me right now. Ambassador, good morning.
Morning, Pearson.
We were having a bit of a post-Carifesta conversation before we started. Your view of Carifesta, I'll give mine at the end.
It was a fantastic Carifesta. And let's all remember that Carifesta is one of the premier institutions of our Caribbean integration movement, of our CARICOM, because it is a people's institution. But it was fantastic, Pearson. I first participated in Carifesta in 1981, just as a 21-year-old, just, consuming things, and to come back, 45 years later, to have it back in Barbados, and to see some of the innovations let me jump right into it. Sure. Because let me just talk about some of the innovations that I saw that was so important, and perhaps this is why so many people are saying that Carifesta 2025 is perhaps the best of all the 15 Carifestas. First of all, the youth village. Oh boy. Bring in all of these young people from all across the Caribbean together at the Barbados Community College, but not just bringing them together, but then letting them go in terms of how all the different activities that they put together in that village, exhibiting the creativity of our youth. Tremendous. Mm-hmm. Then attached to that, the Richard Stout Caribbean Youth Talent Showcase. In other words, taking a Barbadian institution, the Richard Stout Teen Talent Competition, and transforming it into a Caribbean institution for our young people. Then the big conversations. The big conversations bringing together leading thinkers, statespeople, leading artists of the Caribbean in all of these important conversations in Golden Square, Freedom Park, and Marcus Garvey Amphitheater, and different locations engaging with the people. That gave a lot of real solid content to this Carifesta. The outreach to Africa, having delegations from Ghana and Zimbabwe, the Mansa Musa production, for example. So these are just a few of the innovations that this Carifesta pioneered, and that I think are going to become staples. But all in all, it was a tremendous celebration of our Caribbeanness, of our value, our worth, as a Caribbean people, and are coming together to help us clarify our vision about many important matters. There
was such an energy among the Caribbean people, particularly the young people of the region. I thought that portended well for CARICOM, and what CARICOM represents, and what the dream of CARICOM was initially set up to be. To see the young people driving the process, and that was also a big passion of yours, using young people to advance the agenda of CARICOM, to see how together we can all come together as a people, recognizing ourselves in spite of our differences, and recognizing that we can together pack a big punch.
Oh yes. But I mean, the CARICOM, the Caribbean spirit really came to the fore.
It was beautiful.
Young people, elders, mature people, the artists. It was just a really beautiful, beautiful experience to behold. And one of the prime locations of course, the youth village. It's just beautiful, all of the young people from across the island. But then the Carifesta village, the main village.
Yes.
That Carifesta village and Grand Market. When I stepped into that facility for the first time, it was a night time, probably second or third day of Carifesta. I was just blown away because I really, I didn't know what to expect, but I certainly, in my wildest dreams, I didn't expect anything as magnificent as that. And that became a real pan-Caribbean village because wherever you looked, you saw the entire region. You wanted food, you had a choice. You could be the Haiti, Grenada, St. Lucia, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica.
Yep,
And
all
the
there.
people were just lapping it up because people were going there to taste the cuisines of all the different islands. And then that magnificent artistic area with the stage and the seating and the sound and the light. And Carifesta, you could just go into that village if you did nothing else. Just visiting that village would have constituted a very complete Carifesta experience, because Carifesta came to you
Yes.
in that village. And the beauty of seeing Barbadian families, families coming to the village and making an all-day excursion out of it. Prime Minister Motley said at the outset, miss this and blame yourself. And I want to say to any Barbadians who did not participate in Carifesta, you really missed something very phenomenal.
I took up your challenge and I went into the book market. And I took up that challenge to my cost, literally, but I'm not fretting about it, because I walked away with valuable books written by Caribbean people on a range of subjects. And I think it was phenomenal. Part of that book village as well was to watch people, not just young people, sit in an area where they had discussion, to get close to authors, to have conversation with authors as well. I think that, for me, was also one of the big moments of Carifesta.
Oh, well, as you know, I was making the case for that.
Yes.
I was saying, let us refocus on our literary culture, let us support the books and the writers. And just like you, I was constantly in that, we can't call it a bookstore. I mean, we will have to call it the literary segment
Yes.
of the Carifesta village. It was an expansive place, and great credit to Chattel House Books, to Beverly Hinkson and her whole team. People like Andy Tate, and Black Rock Books. And I, like you, I don't want to say how much I spent, but it was a considerable sum of money. But the books were so compelling, so valuable. And I must tell you something, Pearson. The power of Morning Barbados. A couple of occasions I held up here Georgetown Journal, Andrew Salke book that chronicled the Writers' Conference in Guyana in 1970 that conceptualized Carifesta. Well, because of that, and that book is out of print, but because of that book is now going to be reprinted.
Oh, fantastic.
Right? Ian Randall, probably the biggest, most powerful indigenous Caribbean publishing house, having seen that segment, said to me, I want to republish that book. I want to make this available to the Caribbean people. And so that is now in train. So that Caribbean classic, because of what we did here, will soon become available widely across the region. But yes, the books, and the booksellers did extremely well.
Very well.
If people say that people no longer reading and no longer buying books, well, what happened at Carifesta disproves that, because the books were a big hit.
Totally so. I mean, as a matter of fact, as I stood by the cash register, more and more books were coming in, because the sellers and the authors of those realized, you know what, my book is in demand. And so they brought more and more in. I think that was such, for me, a changing moment. To have access at affordable prices to the literature of the Caribbean, to the story of the Caribbean, the stories of the Caribbean, by the authors of the Caribbean, and to see me reflected between the pages of those books as well, I thought was phenomenal. And so with a wide range from children to science to fiction to sports to all sorts of genres in one space, if you missed it, blame yourself, because the books were all there.
It was also phenomenal? Barbados and the Barbadian people.
Yes.
One of the great attractions of Carifesta was Barbados and the Barbadian people. And I'll just give you my experience of that. Because over those 10 days, I had opportunity to take visiting guests to go down to Golden Square, Freedom Park, take them around, to go to the National Monument, you know. Something that concerns CBC. So I was taking one of our visiting guests, dignitaries, who was going to be speaking at one of the big conversations at the Marcus Garvey Amphitheater in Queen's Park. So that Thursday, I took them to Queen's Park just to see the amphitheater because they were going to be speaking the following day. And it just so happened that Q in the community was happening in Queen's Park on that Thursday. So it gave me an opportunity to take them to see Q. And, you know, they were so blown away. They were so blown away by the beauty of that Q in the community experience, seeing how the people, you know, the ambience, people coming together, the spirit in which they were coming together. I was able to take the Vice President of Colombia, Francia Marquez. I was able to take her down to Golden Square, and you know, and she walked with the people on the sidewalks of Bridgetown, and we went over to the monument. You know, she walked among the people, and just expressing how free Barbados feels. You know, no sense of, you know, in many of these countries, for vice presidents even to walk freely the streets is a big thing, and everybody's so impressed with the story of Barbados as told through Golden Squares, told through the monument with the heroes and so forth. So Barbados and Barbadians, and just the spirit of the Barbadian people, welcoming our guests, showing that warm hospitality and that sense of Caribbeanness, you know, embracing our Caribbean identity. That was wonderful to see. And of course, the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony, Pearson. I don't think I've ever seen a bigger crowd in Barbados than what I saw at that closing ceremony on Sunday. It was it was massive. You know. So the Barbadian people really, hats off to you. You really supported this Carifesta in a tremendous way, and you showed Barbados to the rest of the world in its best light.
We want to know to turn our attention to the general elections in Guyana and the upcoming elections in Jamaica as well. And so, Ambassador, let's talk a little bit about that and the role that CARICOM has played or is playing in both elections.
Well, first of all, I guess we could focus on Guyana, because the Guyana elections took place yesterday. Counting of the votes still going on, and all of us will recall what happened 5 years ago, where there was a very, very contentious election in Guyana, and it was CARICOM that really saved the day, because, you know, typically with most Caribbean elections, there are election observer teams that go in. And back in 2020, CARICOM sent a team, the OAS, Commonwealth, the Carter Center, all of these folk. And remember, that was back, that was at the time of COVID.
Yes.
But after things got very contentious, all the foreign observer teams left. It was the CARICOM observer team that stayed on the ground in Guyana for 3 months and saw that election through to a proper outcome. So similarly, there's a CARICOM election observer team in Guyana right now, a 10-person team made up of electoral officers from different CARICOM countries, plus a support group from the CARICOM Secretariat. So it's probably about a 20-person team in all. And we hope that they don't we hope that they're not called upon to play that kind of critical role that they had to play five years ago. And so far, signs seem to be all positive. All the reports I heard from spokespersons from the OAS mission, from the European Union mission. Everybody was reporting that things went smoothly yesterday. Everything seemed, good and efficient. So we keep our fingers crossed, and I guess we see how things, materialize. But the people of the region can rest assured that there is a CARICOM electoral mission in Guyana, keeping an eye on the entire process, just to make sure that democracy prevails. And similarly, already on the ground in Jamaica, there is a similar 10-person CARICOM electoral observer mission, plus staff from the Secretariat, preparing for Jamaica's election tomorrow. So it's a very busy time for CARICOM, because these are two major CARICOM member states, Guyana and Jamaica, two of our biggest member states, and very competitive elections. All the polls show that it's a very tight race in Jamaica. I don't think anybody can predict a winner, the outcome. And similarly in Guyana, and we know, elections in Guyana are always fraught because of the race issue, and because of some of Guyana's troubled, political history. So yes, hopefully everything will go well, but we have the assurance that CARICOM is there. We are keeping an eye on things, and no doubt the CARICOM presence will help to see things through to a proper outcome.
And for those of you watching wondering when will the announcement of the results of the Guyana election be made, they're telling us about the 4th of September. They'll first want to know the regional outcomes, and then they'll give the outcome for the general election as well. So that is just a couple days away. But CARICOM's observer mission team is there just keeping a close eye to ensure that all stays well. And now Barbados is also preparing, yourself included, to head off to Africa for a big summit. What's happening?
Oh, yes. And this is the second Africa-CARICOM Heads of Government Summit. It will be held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, on the 6th and 7th of September, so Saturday and Sunday of this week. And as you may be aware, the 7th of September was officially designated Africa-CARICOM Day back in 2021. And CBC, since that designation in 2021, CBC and Barbados, we have really played a critical role in celebrating it, and making sure that designation wasn't just some kind of dead letter. We actually brought life to it. Yes. And were it not for the fact that we're actually having this summit, we probably would have been having some big live program, because that's what we've been doing here at CBC. Every 7th of September, we've been having this live discussion where we bring in Barbadian representatives in Ghana and Kenya and Afri-Exim Bank, and have this wonderful discussion. But this year, Barbados, a big delegation will be going off, because Barbados really is convinced that developing the relationship between the Caribbean and Africa is key to our present and our future. So the delegation will be led by Prime Minister Motley. It will also include, obviously, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kerry Simmons, but it will also include our Minister of Health, Dr. Jerome Walcott, and myself, CARICOM Ambassador, and several supporting officers. So it's a heads of state summit, heads of government summit. So there will be similar delegations from across CARICOM, plus, of course, Africa. The first day, the 6th, is going to be dedicated to kind of what we call side events, but very important events. There's going to be a health meeting. That's why Dr. Walcott is going, because Barbados, along with Rwanda, those two countries are driving something called the Health Development Partnership of Africa and the Caribbean. And this is where we are moving towards developing our own pharmaceutical industries to manufacture vaccines. So this is something very, very serious, and it will be taken a step further in Ethiopia on Saturday when the ministers of health of Africa and the Caribbean come together along with the officials of this health development partnership. Also, there's going to be an engagement with UNESCO, a side event where we're going to, under the auspices of UNESCO, we're going to be meeting to discuss the return to Africa and the Caribbean of cultural heritage that has been taken away to European countries and so forth. Restoration really of cultural heritage, and very importantly as well, and this is all before we actually get to the summit on the 7th, there's going to be a town hall engagement between our CARICOM heads of government and our people, our Caribbean people who live in Ethiopia and other surrounding countries. Then, of course, so that's all on the Saturday. Then the 7th is the big conversation with the heads of government. Central to that is going to be the theme of reparations, because the theme of the summit is actually centered around reparations. So there's going to be a big opening segment which will focus on reparations and which will produce a new CARICOM African Union partnership on reparations, a declaration on reparations. But then we'll be going on to discuss things like the airline linkages, all the different things that we need to do together. So it's going to be historic. It's going to be very historic, because the summit that we had in 2021 was a virtual summit. This one is actually going to be the first official CARICOM, Caribbean Africa, CARICOM African Union in-person heads of government summit, and that is going to lay a foundation for very serious and progressive developments.
And that brings us to the end of our conversations on CARICOM. But as always, a report, sir, is required of
definitely.
And so we're excited to hear the outcome of this.
Definitely.
Wish you and the delegation well. And I'm, again, as I said, I'm excited to hear the outcome of it, because I really want to follow what's happening in CARICOM. I think Carifesta has forced a lot of us as Caribbean people to pay closer attention to what's happening in CARICOM and the discussions around CARICOM, and get excited about what the future looks like for us as a region and how powerful we are to be able to make a difference.
We've been doing this, Pearson. We have been doing this conversation on CARICOM since December of 2018. Wow. We will be celebrating 7 years in a couple of months' time. And I am not aware that there's any other segment like this, right? Televised segment. So we have been pushing the importance of this Caribbean integration movement, and we can see just this past week with Carifesta, with the elections, with this historic Africa-CARICOM summit, we can see the importance of what we are engaged in and the importance of trying to bring it to the attention of not just our Barbadian people, because people from all over the Caribbean pick up on this program.
Indeed so. And that's because of you, sir.
Well, because of us.
That's because of you, sir. So I thank you, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comishaw, who takes the mission and really does it so well indeed with us in having our conversations on CARICOM. Now we're wiser. We're expected to do wiser things. And so I thank you for helping us to be wiser, sir.
Morning, morning.